10 red flags that turn women off. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what turns women off by the conversations that I've had with my female friends, conversations I've had during my interview series with women, and also as a woman myself, and the things that turned me off exactly when I was dating. But before we get started, my name is Apollonia Ponti. I'm a dating, relationship, and life coach for you men to not only attract a high quality woman, but attract a high quality life as well. Before we get started as well, do not forget to download my free ebook. It's called My 7 Common Mistakes That Men Make When Attracting Women. It is a phenomenal ebook that so many people talk about, and it's completely free. And I'll put it down below in the description box and up here on the card so you can download that. Now, let's get started on number one. Number one is more of a surface level thing, but it's something that so many women talk about. And this was one of my biggest turnoffs is when a man would show up to a date and have bad hygiene. Bad hygiene means the following, meaning dirty fingernails. Even if you have a construction job, it is okay to have maybe calluses on your hands. We don't expect them to be perfect, but take the time to take out the dirt from your fingernails. Dirty fingernails are one of the biggest pet peeves that I hear from women. Also, wrinkled shirt. And you know when you do laundry, but you left it in the dryer and it has this mildew smell? I remember going on a date with a man years ago, and it was not a bad looking guy, but all I could smell was his shirt smelling like that mildew smell after the dryer. And I'm not even sure if he knew that as well. So this is so important to be attentive in your looks and how you're showing up and presenting yourself on a date. Just like you would want a woman to show up pretty well spoken and maybe have great hygiene for herself is the same thing for you. Another thing is picking your nose, bad breath, and underarm smell on your date and not using deodorant. These are things that I hear from a lot of women as well in regards to the surface level of things that turn them off and are big red flags for them when they're on dates. And typically they don't give a second call back to the dates because it's really first impressions, guys. If you really think about it, if a woman showed up with on a date picking her nose and had horrible breath and just turned you off in so many ways, you probably wouldn't be calling her back either. So these are just small things to consider. Number two goes a little bit deeper. A lot of women get turned off, and it's a really big red flag if a man is selfish in the bedroom. Now, one of the reasons why I feel like a lot of women obviously get turned off by this is because a woman wants to know a man takes pleasure in pleasuring her just as much as she should do the same for you if your intimacy and your intimacy qualifications match. Everybody thinks and looks at intimacy differently. So it's important that you have a discussion with the person that you want to be intimate with, and if you continue to be intimate with them. A lot of women come back to the man that is not selfish in the bedroom, especially if you're hooking up before even getting in a relationship. If that may be the case, who knows? But this is another reason why women will probably be turned off by a man too, is because they end up being selfish in the bedroom and they just want to be pleased only, or they only just want to get to the penetration, which I talk a lot about. So if you want some more information about this, I have a huge program called the How to Please a Woman. It is a small program PDF of really a woman and other women discussing exactly how to basically please a woman in the bedroom. Number three is lack of manners. And I'll put that in the description box, by the way. So number three is lack of manners. So this was my biggest thing. Whenever I went on a date with a man, I would see how he would treat the valet driver, the waiter. And I remember a woman telling me once that she knew that she shouldn't continue going out with this guy because he was very disrespectful the first date to the waiter. I remember he ordered like a Diet Coke, she was saying, or some type of soda, and it came out flat from the fountain. And he got upset at the waiter as if he made the fountain drink and was complaining and was just in a bad mood afterwards and didn't really make eye contact with the valet driver as if they were like his servants. And I remember her saying that, and she said she went on a second date with him and it just continued to get worse and worse. And she said that she definitely didn't want to go out with him afterwards. And this is one of those things that women really look at because we want to make sure, especially a good woman, she wants to make sure that you are treating others with respect, because then she knows that you are going to treat her with respect too. And then you emulate that. So then the woman should do the same thing, right? So number four is unwarranted flirting. So a lot of times women, and this is like almost 100% of women it happens to. Unfortunately, it's happened to one of many of us one time in our lives. But unwarranted flirting means where you maybe obviously just approach her right away and just flirted with her in a sexual meaning. Like you were just flirting with her and all you did was flirt. When she didn't give you the cues that she wanted to flirt, she wasn't even open to the conversation. You hadn't built trust yet with her. And you just continue to focus on flirting because you think that this is a way that that's going to get the woman to be attracted to you. But it comes off very immature. It comes off very quote unquote what they'll call a frat boy vibe. And you're just continuing to do unwarranted flirting and you're not picking up on her cues that she's giving you that she's not comfortable. Number 5 is a terrible conversationalist. Okay, so many women talk about this, and this is why I have a lot of discussions about this in my membership where we do mock dates and I help men with this, is terrible conversationalists can allude to a couple things. So one of them can be sexualizing the conversation too early on because you're scared to get in friend zone. So you think in order to get out of a friend zone or get a woman attracted to you, you have to sexualize the conversation, which is actually wrong. I think if you are able to build seduction and build an emotional connection, which I talk about in many of my videos, you will be able to, the woman will actually sexualize the conversation first and give you the go ahead. She will give you the green light to start flirting with her, which happens 99% of the time. Trust me, as a woman, I know when I am ready to flirt with a man and either sexualize the conversation, I will literally drop subtle cues because he made me feel comfortable because he did some flirting. He did some bantering. We got some deep connections. I feel like I can trust him a little bit more. And so now I want to be seduced, right? So one of the biggest things is we sexualize. Sometimes I see men sexualizing conversations way too quick, and also too thinking that this is the only way that you can attract a woman, and also sexualizing to an extent where it's going from hot instead of lukewarm or cold, and testing it. You're just like, oh, you would be so great to sleep with. All of a sudden, when you guys haven't even talked about anything about this, it went from a hot. You see what I mean? And then talking about yourself too much. That is another thing that women think that are terrible conversationalists as well, as when you talk about yourself too much. And questions, and use questions only as well. Like as if you're on a date and it's like a Barbara Walters interview and you're just questioning, which can happen because of nerves. So it's really important that you also understand that, nerves come to all of us on dates, but it's also important that if think that you're a terrible conversationalist, like put yourself out there to have conversations with women that you're not 100% invested in. So you get a little bit more comfortable and a little more confident with your conversations, which I talk a lot about. And then another thing is women hate, this was my biggest pet peeve, is a man that constantly interrupted me. When I was being constantly interrupted, it was a sign, it was such a big red flag that my words had no meaning and he actually looked down on me. And this was a big thing. This is how I took it as a woman for a lot of women, and this is what they don't like. It's okay to be excited from time to time and speak and interrupt each other. But what I mean is you're constantly interrupting. And sometimes this happens because we can get nervous, but you have to be careful when you interrupt people just in general, even in working environments. Imagine you as a boss and a coworker constantly interrupting you. You would see that as a lack of respect, right? So this is just human behaviors, guys. And then the next one is pushing her to drink more. This is something that has been discussed in the community as well, and also too in the interviews with women and a lot of friends, where a guy will be like, oh, why don't you get another drink? Why don't you get another drink? Let's get another drink. Let's do a shot. When she clearly doesn't want to drink and she's like, no, I have to wake up early in the morning, and you're kind of pushing her to drink more. What it shows us is that you're just trying to get us into bed possibly, and you only have an end result. And it actually makes us uncomfortable. And if that woman is not in the headspace to drink more and have a good time, it can kind of push her away. There's some women that will be open to this as well, depending on her headspace and what she wants from this relationship or encounter with you, I should say. And the next one I want to showcase here, and hear me out first, is you're cheap or broke. I want to give you an example, guys, of what I mean by this. Now, I'm always going to keep it real with you as a woman. I'm not going to say that all women will date a poor guy just because you have a great confidence about yourself. No, women want a man, and there's many women out there that want a man with ambition. As long as you have direction and you know where you're going and you're able to provide a roof over your head and provide food for yourself and have ambition, this right there is what you need. But also too, why not, if you want to live a life where you are be able to be free and financially stable within yourself, whatever that may look like. Everybody's journey is different. Work towards that and also find a woman that is working towards that if you want that from a woman too. So many times I hear men saying, oh, women are just gold diggers. But yeah, there are gold diggers out there that are women, but there's also women that are gold diggers, but also if they want to embrace their side of independence, meaning like their side of their job security, their side of their ambitions and their hobbies outside of just raising a family. So many women want this, and so many men are really attracted to that. When you can find a partnership where you both can come together and be interdependent and have goals and ambitions and support one another, then this is really important. Now, let me tell you a different story, an opposite of story of what I mean by this. I remember going on a date years ago before I found my husband, and I was set up on a blind date with a friend, and she thought that he was like the perfect match for me. And he calls me, and we were going to take an Uber to a restaurant. This is where I lived in the city, and he didn't live in the city, so I told him just to park around the area of my apartment building. And he comes, he calls me, and he's like, "Hey, do you know where?" And I had valet at the time. He could have just valeted his car, but he didn't want to. He calls me and he says, "Do you know where there's free parking?" And I was like, "I have no idea where there's free parking. I think there's a free parking garage like 2 blocks down if you want to park there." So first of all, that was a red flag. And then second of all, he calls me again, "There's no free parking. I can't believe this. I can't pay for parking. This is crazy." And starts kind of complaining about this free parking. And I'm like, "Dude, if you want to have $5 or $10 for parking, I can help you out with that. Just valet at my building." And the valet, I don't want to pay for parking. And he kept, I can't find free parking. Called me about 4 or 5 times that he couldn't pay that he couldn't find the free parking. And so with that said, I remember going on the date and I was just so turned off and I just wanted to leave just because of the experience of him just complaining right away. This is what I mean as being cheap or broke is like, yeah, keep that to yourself if you want to try to find the free parking, but maybe not involve me so much in the aspects of, or a woman in the aspects of why this can be the worst case possible for you and you just making it such a, I should say, a storyline, right? And so lastly too about this, if you're a man that's going to school and on a budget, don't take a woman to a 5-star restaurant, right? Maybe find a woman that's going to appreciate that too and is going to school and is on a budget too. There's plenty of relationships that blossom from this too. Stop just having this narrow-minded all the time that all women are gold diggers, because if you do, you will attract a woman that is a gold digger, guys, because it's not true. It's like me saying all men are bad. Heck no, that is not true, right? That is not true whatsoever. There's plenty of good men out there, and I see it every dang day. Next one is lack of ambition and is lazy, which goes hand in hand with what I was talking about. What keeps attraction in relationships in general is ambition. Would you be really attracted to a woman that sits on her butt and eats Cheetos and gains 20 pounds every week or every month? Probably not, right? Unless she has like some type of medical condition and she has to like stay tight and might be gaining weight, you guys can work through this. But you want someone that is also going to be ambitious in their goals in their life. Things happen like depression. Things happen in life where someone may pass and something might happen and they deal with it in certain ways, but you know your partner does not lack ambition in life and they'll get back on the bandwagon. They may lose the 10 pounds that they gain. It happens in relationships, but it's about your foundation and picking a partner that also encourages you to be ambitious, because when they fall, you can lift them up, and the same goes vice versa. Partnerships are not about comparison. Partnerships are more about lifting each other up, flaws and all, but the individuality of a relationship is that both of you have a solid foundation and you know your goals in a relationship, because if you do not sustain your goals in the relationship, you will disappoint your other partner, especially when there is lack of respect or any other thing, lack of boundaries or values. This is where toxic relationships can live in because there is no direction. And last but not least is insecure and neediness. Now, this is a huge red flag for women. The reason why is because when a man represents a lack of self-confidence, doesn't mean that you have to be the most confident person all the time. As humans, we have insecurities, but it's about how do you manage these insecurities? Are you aware of them? And do you depend on her? Is she your lifeline? Is she your last breath of air sometimes? Do you lose all of everything when you really like a woman? Do you idolize this woman? And if you do, it shows a person, not only just a woman, but a person. It happens that you hold no value within yourself. And so what happens here is you're basically like, here's my life and my emotions, do something with it. And that's a huge responsibility for a person. And that's not something that can be carried on into relationships all the time. And so with that said, it can turn a person off because there's this huge amount of pressure and of need. And a human doesn't want to always feel needed in a way where they're your lifeline. They want to feel needed because you love them, you admire them. And the same goes vice versa on this. And so, with that said, this is a red flag for women because not only does this happen, but it makes a woman step more into her masculine than lead and follow in her feminine with a man. And so, if we can embrace and understand that masculine and feminine and polarity and how they both intertwine with male and female relationships, we can understand this. Doesn't mean that you can't have insecurities from time to time. And I go into this a lot more in a lot of my programs and so on. So if you want to get better at not having any of these red flags and being that alpha man and really embracing this in a great nature, in a great way, I would really encourage you to sign up for my free training video right above and below. It's a whole free training video about becoming that alpha magnet, that alpha mentality, and upholding that alpha mentality that women love so you can embrace that side of you. And as always, click that link below because that's a free training video that I don't want you to miss. And again, as always, remember, you are always loved. See you in the next video. Bye for now.